afternoon. I want to thank Azar first and foremost for inviting me out. Azar, as he mentioned, sent an email to my inbox at my school.
It's all good.
So when this email came to me about 4 years ago, my first concern was, why is this coming to my inbox? Here I am as a principal or vice principal at the time, and I didn't know who Azar was. But there was something that had started way before Azar's email got to me that kind of forced me to come here. So I'll talk more about that story later on as I share. He's asked me today to come and share some of my stories, some of the things that I've done over the last couple of years. And instead of me making this a presentation like I normally do on stage, I just want to really talk to you guys today. I've kind of titled my talk today called Take Control Now. If you know, and I think pretty much all of you know because you hear it in our financial newspapers, you've seen the travesties and the devastations that's happened to people's 401ks and through their RSP securities that they've put aside for the last several years. Since the financial meltdown of 2007, 2008, things have not been the same. The stock market is volatile. Every day it's going up and down, and people really aren't sure what really tomorrow holds for them. So today I said take control now would be a proper theme for us to start talking about. And I like what you said, that you want to find a better place to put your money. Most people right now are scared. They're holding the money on the sidelines, not sure what to do with it. Many of them are still in the market speculating, hoping that this stock is going to run up and they're going to be able to retire well. But Azar has mentioned some things, and he said one of the things that we do when we meet together is we talk about real estate. Real estate is one of the best vehicles for securing long-lasting wealth and so forth. And I'm very impressed by this gentleman here at 21 who started investing in real estate, and most of us are in our 40s, right? Most of us. So most of us are in our 40s, and you know, the first 30 years of our lives, 35 years of our lives, we go through life just kind of going through the motions. And then we're in the middle stage of our lives, and we like say, you know what, I don't have anything set aside. And then you start thinking about your future. But at that time, you're running out of time. And this is where most of us found ourselves. For me, it was in my 30s where I started saying, I have no plan. But I'm very impressed by this gentleman because at 21, he got the message. And if we can get young people to understand the message early, then they can create the life that you already started creating for yourself. So today I want to talk about a couple of things. The first thing I said is, it's taking control. Now, I'm not sure how this works, but I'm going to try to go through it. On Monday of this week, I had an opportunity to sit to listen to an economist on the economy. She's an economist for BMO Capital Markets, and I was very fortunate to have a chance to go and see this presentation. One of the students in my school is in a gifted program, and his father happens to be working with Providence Foundation. And he said, you know, this presentation is happening, would you be interested in coming out? I said, I'd love to. It's about the economy, it's about, you know, wealth creation and so forth. Why not go out? What time is it? Starts at 7. No problem. So I get there at 7 o'clock, the room is full, about 60 people in the room to listen to this wonderful lady speak on the economy. Now, if you've been watching the news, you know that things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. Governments right across the planet are having difficulties balancing their budget. And so what they're doing now is saying, how can we pull things? And here in Canada, we're starting to see some rapid changes in the way things are going to go forward. Take a look at what's happening. The federal government wants to freeze public sector workers' wages, which means there's no increase in wages for the foreseeable future. And this is one way of them, again, balancing their budget, making sure that they keep some more money in their pockets. New proposed cuts to the OHIP. Most individuals, we have our health plan. We've got a wonderful health plan here in Canada. But the government's now saying, you know, some of the programs that we've already taken for granted, some of the programs that's costing the government's money, they're now looking at pulling those things away. So individuals who are at the later stages of their lives, maybe they're retired or close to retirement, or maybe they're retired on a fixed income, some of the things that they were used to having on OHIP will now have to come out of their pockets to fund. And that's the reality that's taking place. Prime Minister Harper recently mentioned, and this was in the news a couple days ago, that they're now considering changing the retirement age from 65 to 67. Now that's not new. It's being done in many countries around the world. We're not the first to think about that. But you just think about this. Most people go through life never thinking about the end result, their futures. And now they're at a stage on a fixed income, and they're just about to retire, and this new thing is, it's on the bubble. We're not sure if it's going to happen, but more than likely it will. The states are doing it. Okay, it's in a number of other countries. So all of a sudden, we're saying we can't give you the old age security that we promised you because we're kind of tight on our fiscal budget. We're going to make you retire a little bit later so you can pull it a little bit later. It gives us time to have our money grow. So the projections that were there are no longer available. I don't know if this goes up anymore, Azar. There's just one more thing on the bottom there. Thank you. So that's where we are. We're in 2012. It's a new year. It's a new beginning. So where do we go from here? Because what's worked for the masses obviously is not what you guys have bought into. That's why you're here today. You know there's got to be a better way. The 9-to-5 mentality is not going to last us. Okay? You can have the 9-to-5 mentality and still be able to do well, but you got to do more beyond that. And this is why you guys are here. Like-minded individuals looking for ways of creating passive income for yourself and profiting. So you are here. Securing your financial future is going to be completely up to you. No one else can do it for you. Okay? We went to school and we were told, get a good job, get a good education, find that company that's got to do your thing for you, give your defined benefit. Well, defined benefit, most people don't even understand what that is anymore because most companies don't offer it. Okay? So that philosophy no longer works, and it's not worked for quite some time. So the government's not going to come to your rescue. You have to do some things, and you've got to make some changes in how you go about your business. So how do we get there? One of the things I want to talk about today is the whole aspect of goals. Over the last several years, I've been going to a lot of seminars like this, and I've been listening to a lot of speakers. And I've been fortunate to have some really strong mentors in my life that's kind of guided me, shaped the way I now see things, basically worked on my philosophy. Now the seminars have been good, the DVDs and the books. I've turned my car into a library like most people understand. And these things are very important because it allows you to start to see things in a different way. So goal setting is one of the most critical pieces for success. And one of the primary pieces I talked about in speaking to Azar, I wanted to speak about goal setting and why this is so critically important. If you are going to achieve any level of success in your life, you must have a clear understanding of what it is you want to achieve and then put a plan in place to go after it. Only by doing that can you secure your future. It's imagine if you want to create financial freedom for yourself. It's easy to say, I want to create financial freedom for myself. But without a concrete goal for that, it does not become real. Goals, basically, I want you guys to imagine that you've got a nice big dartboard, okay? And you've got a blindfold on. You're standing about 20 feet away from the dartboard, and you're now trying to shoot that dart to get to that target, what we call the bullseye. It's hard to do that with a blindfold on, because you're basically shooting in the dark. A goal is like taking the blindfolds off and putting you not 20 feet away from it, but close enough where you can place that dart right into that center of that bullseye. It's a compass that guides you to exactly what it is you want for yourself. It is a critical piece that must be part of what you do in order to achieve success in any aspect of your life. And you need to be smart about it. When I talk about smart, I'm talking about the acronym SMART. Setting goals is not simply something that you just simply throw out to the universe. I want to be wealthy. Well, what does wealthy mean? Every one of us have a different definition about it. So we got to be specific about what we want. So the S in SMART means specific. If you know for yourself that you're now a real estate investor, and many of you are well accomplished in that area, I want to earn $1,000 this year in passive income from my real estate investments. That is being specific. Someone who comes up and says, well, you know, I'm a real estate investor and I want to earn passive income this year. We all want to earn passive income. But what is the specific goal that you want to achieve? So you have to be specific in what you want. The M stands for measurable. Every one of us has a benchmark. How do you know you're moving towards success? If you don't have a benchmark, then there's no way to make progress. You can't judge whether or not you're moving forward. It's like going to the gym and saying, I want to get in shape. Well, what are your goals? Is it to gain muscular strength? Is it to bench press 225 pounds? Is it to lose 10 pounds? Well, really don't know. I just want to get in shape. Well, how do you know when you're there? Well, I'll just feel better. It's really hard to get there with that kind of mindset. So it has to be measurable. If your goal is to have $1,000 in cash flow, and you know that one property brings you back $300 per door, then you might say to yourself, okay, if that's $300 and I need at least 4 to get my 1,000, so you go to work. That allows you to go and do what you need to do. So, achievable. Simply setting a goal and saying, well, I set a goal and it didn't happen, doesn't make sense. It has to be something that's achievable. It has to be within your scope of being able to really achieve it. To say that I want to go out this year, my first year as an investor, and I want to be able to create $10,000 in passive income in my first year, not knowing anything about the business, may not be something that's achievable. Thank you. So those are some of the things that you've got to be able to do. Is 10,000 achievable? Maybe not for a first-time investor, but certainly for someone who knows the business, who has got the education, who has the partnerships and the joint venture. Maybe they don't have to come out of pocket themselves all the time because their knowledge is what they're bringing to the deal, and they can shop multiple deals. That's possible. But you have to assess where you are. And is it realistic? All right? The last piece of the SMART is time. There's got to be a timeline attached to anything that you want to achieve in your life. Because the timeline forces you to take action. If I say I want to lose 20 pounds and I don't put a timeline on it, well, have I failed? Well, no. I want to lose 20 pounds, I'm 45. But maybe by the time I'm 50, I said, yes, I lost 20 pounds. Well, is that kind of success? Well, not really. You haven't made it urgent enough for you to get there. So you need to put timelines and attach those to your goals. So how do we set goals? A lot of people have difficulties with this piece. Many of you know, in the personal development world, Jack Canfield. How many know Jack Canfield? Heard the name Jack Canfield? Jack Canfield has a book. It's a beautiful book called Goals. Simply that, Goals. And through that book, he talks about how to effectively set goals. But one of the things that worked best for me was a gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn, I believe, is one of the best speakers on personal development than anyone that I know. Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar are two of my favorites. Jim Rohn has a process for setting goals. And I think it's something that if you adopt in your own life, will bring you all the rewards that you seek. And here's this process. Each of us have goals we want to accomplish. And he says this, give yourself a time frame. We're going to say 20 minutes to sit down and just write out everything you want to achieve in your life. Whether it's financial, health-wise, where you want to go, things you want to see, places you want to go. For 20 minutes, just write nonstop. You want to talk about things that you want to accomplish in 1 year, things you want to accomplish in 3 years, things you want to accomplish in 5 years and 10 years. And just write. Doesn't matter how big and how audacious the goal is, just write for 20 minutes. After that first 20 minutes, you're going to stop. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a look and categorize them, all the 1-year goals that you have, then all the 3-year goals, and all the 5-year goals, and the 10-year goals. You've got to put them in priority. Which of those 1-year goals really, really matter to me? Which ones do I really want to achieve? And you're going to take the first 4 of those 1-year goals, and that's going to be your target. Which of those 4 3-year goals do I want to achieve? Which of those 5 and which of those 10? Now some of you might say, well, why would I put a 10-year goal? That's so far out in the future. Well, if you know it's out there, what you're doing here this year is also moving you towards that goal 10 years out in the future. So goal setting is not simply saying, I want this year. You've got to think about the long term as well. So once you put them in priority, here's the big piece that most people miss. Why is this goal important to you? Why is this goal important? What benefit will it bring to you? And what are some of the obstacles that will be in your way of getting this goal? Once you identify the why, that's the driver. So that's the process. And so now you go to work. Here are my 1-year goals. And you're working on them. At the same time you're working on your 1-year goals, you're also keeping your 3-year goals in mind. Because sometimes your 3-year goals are part of your 1-year goal. So a 3-year goal could be the bigger goal, but before you get there, there are things you have to do in the first year to make sure you're moving towards that 3-year goal. And so I'll put this process in action, as Ara wanted me to speak about some of the things I've done. In 2010, I sat down and I followed Jim Rohn's script, and I wrote down exactly as I told you. It's a process. It takes time. It's not something you're going to do in half an hour. It's going to take you a couple hours. To really do it properly, it's going to take you a couple hours. And if you're not disciplined, you'll walk away from it. But I can tell you, if you exercise the discipline and do it, things will unfold for you. In 2010, in August, I sat down and I wrote the goals that I wanted. One of them was to read. I love reading. I set a goal of reading 20 books that year. I was able to surpass that goal. I read 30 books that year. I set a goal to become a principal by the end of that year. 2010, I said I wanted to be a principal in a school. At that time, I wasn't on the list. I was a vice principal, as Ara said, but I wrote it down, and I said by the end of the year, I want to be a principal in my own school. On the 15th of December, my superintendent visited my school. I'd like to talk to you. We want you to move to a new school in January. Okay, thank you. Also set a goal to purchase 4 properties in that year. On December the 3rd, I bought my 4th property. Now, setting goals by themselves won't get you there. But what they do is they guide you to take the actions necessary to move in the direction of what you want. Yes, I wanted to be a principal, but what else did I have to do? Well, I had to go find mentors who could guide me and develop my philosophy, to help me with the interview questions, to look at the whole aspect of what running a building was all about. And then I had to go through the interview process, got through that. I had to start changing the way I approach my business in school. So setting the goal is only the one aspect. It's what you do next that fuels whether or not you'll get it. With the real estate, it was simple. This is what I want. And I remember sitting down with a mortgage broker and a realtor, and I said, this is my goal. I want to have 4 properties by the end of the year. And he's like, well, 4 is too much. That's not possible. I said, next. And I moved on. Because what he saw, what his limitations were, I wasn't going to buy that. I know where I'm going, and I know what I want. And I set the goals, and the intentions are there. So if you're in a position right now where someone tells you you can't do something, and it's something you believe in, and you got the discipline to go after it, then you need to go after it. Okay? So I exercised that, and I moved away from him, and this is what's transpired in my life. So goals, this is a quote, and I love quotes. And this one is something that I wrote just listening to all the books and the tapes, and it says, the degree to which we allow our minds to be consumed by a thought, whether good or bad, will impact the decisions we make and the lives we ultimately create. If your goal is to create financial freedom, what do you have in the forefront of your mind? I want to be financially free. And you're constantly taking action towards that direction. And that will help you create the life you want, because you will not leave that in the background. This is what drives us. So, as I move forward, just a show of hands, how many of you want to be financially free? Okay. Who wants to retire by age 67? No one? Nobody wants to stay in the workforce for that long? Okay? See, here's the thing. We all want the same things. Every one of us wants to be in excellent health. We want good relationships. We want good spiritual growth and understanding. We want to be financially secure. There's no difference between what you want and what I want. But what stops one person from getting what they want and somebody else from getting all it is that they want? If it's all about want and we all want the same things, what's stopping people from achieving their goals? See, simply having a desire, having a wanting to be financially free is just not enough. And this is something I learned very, very recently, the last couple of years. Wanting is not enough. But if I change that and said, how many of you have to be financially free? How many of you have to be financially free? That's a different question. And if you answer that question in the affirmative, that I have to be financially free, guess what? It changes what you do. Because I can want to lose weight and never go to the gym. Correct? If I have to lose weight, I'm going to take action. So there's a difference between wanting to and having to do something. I want to lose weight, but I don't go to the gym. My doctor tells me about diabetes and sugar and so forth, and I have to exercise. Now I have to lose the weight for my health. And now I take action. When it comes to your financial freedom, when it comes to that peace, having to ensures that you will take the necessary steps needed to get you to what you want. When I was going through for my third Dan, I remember at that time I was weighing about 184, and I said, you know what, this is my third degree. I want to drop about 8 pounds. I want to get down to about 174 for my grading. I didn't need to drop the weight, but I figured, you know what, it's a third Dan. I want to be in the best shape I can. But there was also another reason for me. I started investing in real estate. I bought several properties at the time, and I said, okay, well, I need to increase my insurance. And so if you know anything about life insurance, there's a body mass index that they use, height to weight ratio. And I was out of that, not because I was out of shape, but because I used a lot of weights and I was heavier for my size and my height. So I was paying a premium for my insurance. So I said, okay, well, I'm training, and if I go down to 174, I will get my premiums lower because I'm going to increase my life insurance anyways to make sure something's there for my family. So, did I want to lose weight? No. I changed it from I want to lose weight to I have to lose weight, and there was a definite amount of weight I needed to lose by the time I graded and by the time the insurance people came to do my weight testing. The morning of the weighing, I need to be at 174. I weighed in at 173. Got the lower rate for my insurance, brought it up to $1 million coverage for my family. Went, did my belt, passed my grading. When you change just that little thing from wanting to having to, things happen in your life. Okay? So, when you have to, you look for reasons outside. What are your reasons for wanting to be financially free? We all have different reasons. My reason, primary reason, is my family. The more reasons you have, the easier it is to achieve your goals. There are 4 primary reasons that drives everyone towards success. First one is recognition from peers. We all have had peer pressure, where we want to do something so we can be seen in the light of our peers as, you know what, he's the man, she's the woman, she did this. We want recognition from our peers. When I was training for my black belt, I'd gone through the same process with a lot of people. A lot of them dropped out. But I wanted to get that first Dan several years ago, just to be recognized by my peers as someone that was disciplined, that did it. So there are things that you've done in your life that you wanted to be recognized by your peers. Maybe it's in the workforce. Maybe you had that project, and it was given out, nobody wanted to take it on, and you said, you know what, I'm going to take it on, because if I do this, my peers are going to recognize that I'm, you know, and we do that. The second one is respect of our mentors or respected experts. Again, this could be from your employment. We do things. As a principal in the system, as a teacher in the system, before I became a principal, I did things to gain the respect and the recognition of my superiors. Because that was going to be important to move me on to the next level. And so if you've got a mentor, sometimes we do things. That's a motivating factor that allows us to go beyond and extend ourselves to the next level where we can do and become more. In real estate, Paula Brett has been my mentor. And when I first started real estate investing, I said, you know what, if I do this right, it's going to please her. So I did it. to get recognition from her on so many levels. So that's the second motivator. The third one, as I said, is family. And to me, this has been the biggest driver for me. I'm not sure what drives you. My family is important. And this is why I have to create financial freedom for myself so I can bless them in so many ways. And the last one is benevolence, giving back. And I believe in this wholeheartedly. Many of us are doing things not simply because it brings us things, but it's because we can do other things with it. Whether it's giving to sick kids, okay, whether it's giving to a charity. Benevolence is one of the great motivators. I put down on this slide Andrew Carnegie. When Andrew Carnegie died, they found in his drawer a yellow piece of paper that he had written on when he was in his 20s. And on that piece of paper he said, I'm going to spend the first half of my life accumulating money. And I'm going to spend the second half of my life giving it all away. He earned $450 million throughout his working life. And if you put that in today's context, it's equivalent to about 4.5, almost $5 billion. Not only did he create that amount of money, but before he passed away, he was able to give it all away. Carnegie Hall, libraries that he's created in his name. That's benevolence. Those are the powerful drivers that allows us to move towards success. Each of these have one common thread. They're all for somebody else. Recognized by our peers. Recognized by our superiors or our mentors or our family. To give to humanity. Zig Ziglar says, if you help others achieve what it is they want, you can have anything you want. We're put here to serve. And this is really what it's all about, to be recognized by our peers, to leave legacies behind for others. You're all here because you're looking for a better way than the 9 to 5. And for many years, I was looking for a better way. I didn't know what to do. I was working as a teacher, but like many people, many teachers, they were struggling. I was struggling. And I was just trying to find what way can I go ahead. I saw my family doing things that just didn't make sense. I saw bankruptcies in my family. I saw a lot of death around me with people passing away without life insurance. No investments. I saw the pain and embarrassment when you try to bury a family member and no one has enough money to come up with the burial cost. And you have to go to the church for support. Those things are real. And so for me, I had to find a different way. It wasn't a matter of I need to or I wanted to. It became personal. It became I have to do this. And so you're all here looking for something different. A different place to put your money rather than the bank. We know that's a lost cause. So as I went, I started looking at different opportunities. I became licensed investor, selling real estate, not real estate, but life insurance and selling mutual funds and so forth. And that was my first foray into finances. And I did that for a while, and I enjoyed it. But it just wasn't enough for me. And I was sitting out in people's homes trying to educate them about finances, was taking hours of my time just to walk away to say, well, I'm not ready yet. And it became frustrating. People would take on life insurance and they'd cancel 2 weeks later. I'm like, what are you doing? This is not for you, it's for your family. I can't put any money towards investment because I got too many expenses. I can't afford to. And I said, you know what? This is not really helping me. I'm trying to help people, but they don't see it. So let me go help myself first, and then I can worry about them. So I got into real estate. And profits, we're all here. We understand that profits are better than wages. And I'll show you this quick story because about 4 years ago, I had the opportunity of working with Jim. I hadn't met Jim yet, but I've worked with Phil Taylor of Goal Achievers, and I went down there and I said, you know what? I want to be able to bring a pilot project to the schools. I want to teach kids about the concept of money. And so I brought this pilot project in. I taught a 6-week course to a junior school in Scarborough. And at the end of the lessons, one young boy said to me, I wanted to see whether or not they had learned anything. I said, okay, I've given you $20. Explain how you're going to use this $20. One boy said, well, you know what? Based on what you've taught us about savings and investing, I'm going to put my money in the bank. I said, okay, good. The other student said, well, I have this game, and I'm going to buy this really expensive battery that gives me extra lifetime so I can play my game. Not what I wanted to hear. But, hey, as a 13-year-old kid, we want to play our games. I understand that. But a lot of adults in their 30s and 40s are still operating the same mentality about 13-year-olds. The third student said to me, well, Mr. Carroll, based on what you just told me, I would go buy a shovel. What would you do with it? Well, sir, you told us that you shoveled snow when you were a young boy, so I would knock on some doors, and I'd ask them if I could shovel their driveway, because I want to make a profit. I said, well, that's great. What are you going to do with the profits? Well, you've also told me about leverage, sir, and so I would now buy a couple more shovels, and I'd ask my friends if they want a job. And then I'd take them to my contracts, and they'd shovel, and I'd give them half of what I make. So now he learned to leverage people. He's put himself in multiple places at the same time, increased his profit by 100%. This was a 13-year-old boy. So profits, we all understand that it's better than wages. How many of you want the car? If you had a choice, how many of you would take the car? No? Wow, I'm speaking to the right group. How many of you would take the house? These are duplexes and triplexes. How many of you would want those instead of the car?
Cash flow.
Okay, well, here's the other question. How many of you want both? Well, you know what? There's a difference between rich and poor thinking. See, rich people understand that there is a way to get both. The poor mentality says, I can have one or the other. But you got to stop thinking like the poor. You got to say, how can I have it all? Right? Because the individual who says, I want the car, spends their life focusing on liabilities. The individual that says, I want the duplex because I can understand there's a profit coming back after expenses, focuses on assets. But the individual that says, I want the house and the car, says, how many assets can I buy so I can take the proceeds to buy that car? Right? So there's a difference between how we think. So we're here because of real estate. I'm not going to go through too much because I don't have much more time. So I want to go through some of the benefits of why we do real estate. And because this is an audience that's already well equipped and understanding, we'll just go through this. We understand the volatility in the stock market. I have stocks. And I trade my own stocks. I've done much better this year than I did in 2007 and 8, I can tell you that much. But I've had to go to learn some things from experts in the field, and that's part of life. If you don't know how to do something, don't just keep on throwing your money to the wind. Go take the lessons. Go spend the dollars to get educated so you don't get slaughtered. And I did that. Now, I'm not down tens of thousands like I was in 2007, 2008. But I'm not up tens of thousands either. You've seen the volatility. One day it's up, Greece is doing okay, next day Greece is not, and your money goes down. Okay? So, this though gives us control. That's why we do real estate, control of our assets. I know exactly what the building looks like. I know exactly what it's going to bring back for me. I know exactly where it is. So we have total control. It's tangible. It's brick and mortar. Okay? Cash flow and appreciation. We buy for two reasons. You can buy for speculation, but we saw what happened in the States. You can buy with the hope that it's just going to keep on going. Or you can buy, profit, as Robert Kiyosaki says, profit when you buy and profit when you sell. When I buy property, I want to make sure that it's bringing income right away. And when I sell, I know that it's appreciated, and I know that my tenants pay down my mortgage. I'm profiting when I leave. Variety of investment strategies. Colin talked about lease to owns. You heard Zenman talking about fixing it up and making it a perfect property. Fixing and flipping. I like the cash flow. I like the buy and hold. Many markets to choose from. But as we talked about, due diligence, figuring out where the best markets for you are. Market volatility does not affect you. It's hands-off. You're not looking to create more work for yourself. A lot of people said, well, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to get phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning and have to worry about toilets. That's not your job. Your job is financial freedom. Freedom from the work. Freedom from the 9 to 5. Freedom from the phone calls. That's why you pay a property manager to do that for you. And if you think paying a property manager is too much money coming out of your pocket, try doing it without one. Okay? You give and you learn. Predictable expenses. You know exactly what your expenses are. Sometimes things come up, that's part of real estate, but that's part of life. But you don't have management expense ratios eating out your wages, whether or not the markets go up or down. And that's what happens when you have your money in mutual funds. Leverage and partnership. We have a gentleman here looking for partnerships. He's looking for trustworthy individuals. Partnership allows you to move a lot quicker. We can all be ego, and say I've got to do it all on my own, and I've got to buy my own properties on my own. But for me, partnerships make a lot of sense. Because you might bring the knowledge, somebody else can bring the money. You're only limited, we're all limited by how much money is in our pockets. So leveraging and partnership, refinancing to pull out money and buy more homes. Now we talked about that, helping families refinance. Simple, but it's not easy. It's a simple process, but you're here to learn. And if you've never done it, this is where you start. Because there are people in this room that are already financially free. There are people in this room that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. I'm not one of them, but there are people in the room. Okay? Generational wealth transfer. As a black male, I can speak only as a black male, because I don't have any other reference points. But I see a lot in my own community that concerns me. I don't see any generational wealth being transferred from my family to me. I don't see any inheritance coming my way. But I'd like to be able to set my family up for that. So this is why I have to do what I'm doing. So I want to be able to transfer wealth from when I leave, to my family. Financial freedom is what we all want. This is why we